It was so clear. Some of them shocked me to the core. But this is something that is happening. We need to find out what the law says, what you can do, and actually what we as a society need to do to stop this trend, because it's rather disturbing. Remember, when we are talking about women, it's not just a tag. We are talking about our mothers, our sisters, and our daughters. And so we have to do something to stop it. And when you see it happening in the streets, don't just keep quiet. Do something. The next person may be somebody you know. To help us get a better grip of this, I have our lawyer Mike Mutinda with me in the studio. Welcome.
Thank you very much for hosting me.
You're welcome. I'm Ushanza, the legally. You're welcome. Just kidding. Now, it's very interesting when you look at these statistics. Now, you're constantly in the courts of law. I mean, the corridors of justice, and probably when you interact with your colleagues. Are these statistics true?
Yes, thank you for having me. It's a very nice question, and it's indeed a good conversation that we shall be having in this session. So I'm an advocate who's been in practice for the past 3 years. And majorly I've been majoring on criminal law.
Yes.
And it's indeed, the statistics point to what is really happening in the society. In that, for example, in Makadara law courts, a lot of actually
From Nairobi, Kenya, this is EBN TV.
Well, sorry about that. One of our cameras disappeared, but now we are back. I'm hoping this conversation is going on pretty well. Now,
yes.
I'd asked whether these statistics are factual.
Yes.
From the interaction in the corridors of justice and your colleagues.
Yes. Indeed, as I was saying, from my interaction actually, especially in Nairobi and in Machakos, where I have the privilege to do some cases. Most of them, some are pro bono, on which I'm allocated cases to assist as vulnerable or children, or people who cannot afford anything to do with the expenses that come with seeking for justice.
Yes.
So according to the statistics and what I've seen, actually almost a quarter of the criminal cases are either to do with robbery, with violence, and stealing, and the other quarter, actually almost a quarter, constitute sexual offenses, related offenses. So it's indeed a real thorn in the flesh of our society that we have such happening in the society, which is so unfortunate.
And maybe from both your interaction with the corridors and now society, because I know it's not everybody who reports, right?
Yes, sure.
Maybe the majority of people don't report.
Yes.
What you're telling us is only the cases that are reported.
Yes, actually the ones that are reported almost slightly are constituting about a quarter, which a quarter is a large sum based on the number of cases that are filed in whichever station or court station.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's alarming, and so we are here to unpack on the things the society should know and how to go about whenever they are encountered with anything to do with a sexual offense. Yeah, so by that, basically, we can start with the definition of what is...
Before we go to the definition, I'd like to know first which class of people are worst affected by this? Are we talking about just women, or is it kids? Is it teens? Which age brackets are mostly adversely affected in this case?
That's a very good question. So to be categorical, I would say mostly the ones who are mostly affected are ladies. So as you say, the statistics show the alarming number of 80% at one point in their lives or interaction, whether at the workplace or even when boarding on.
When you talk about ladies, you're talking about people who are 18 and above?
Even from around 15, when they attain the age of teenage.
Yes.
Around 15 to 30, thereabouts, mostly they are the ones who are most affected. Yeah, then the other one is to do with the defilement cases for minors.
For the minors,
yes. They
anyone below the age of 18.
Age of 18, yeah. So mostly it's the children, because most of them are vulnerable. They cannot speak for themselves. Some are enticed through some goodies or something. Yeah, so it's a balance between, mostly the ones who are affected are ladies between that age bracket of between 15 to around 30 years or mid-30s. Then the children around the teenagehood age. And then there is a slightly small number of men. Although men they keep it to themselves.
Mtu anakufa kisabuni.
Anakufa kimwanaume. So they fail. Actually, there is an encounter I came while I was at a station somewhere within Nairobi of a guy who was reporting. Then actually even the police themselves were making fun out of it, like it's like
he had been sexually abused by a woman.
Yes, he had been, but it's something that I believe it's the reason as to why most men are likely to show it, like I was harassed, sexually harassed. But it's something that whenever it faces a man, he shouldn't shy off of reporting.
Yes. So men literally, a majority of them will not report what has happened.
Most of them never.
Because the police, you go report and the police is asking you, so what's the complaint?
Yes, actually, that's what I said I encountered at the station that I had gone to attend to my client who had been held there.
Yes.
And actually, it's not a pleasing thing, considering the fact that the law should cut across. It should apply to both gender. So even men, notwithstanding, there are most of them, even especially in the workplace, where you have the boss who is a lady. Then they start giving you some chores or making some advances. Actually, most of them have also had stories of real men talking to me. They tell me my boss is doing this and this to me.
And the guy is afraid if I raise complaints, I might actually lose my job.
Yes. Actually, even in that case, actually the guy, one of the person who was informing me of the same, the boss, the lady boss, was actually using some terms like which the guy wasn't comfortable with. So she was like calling in quotes. They called the guy as a baby, my baby, or something like that. But the guy couldn't speak it out, so he had come to seek some advice on what he could do.
It's pretty interesting because you mentioned words that are terminologies that are used, and you'll find you go to places and such terminologies like baby and that kind of stuff are used very casually in the office. Are you saying that if there's somebody in the office, there's a lady in the office, and I come and I say, hey baby, hey, that is classified as sexual offense?
Now let's get into it.
Jump into the definition.
The definition.
Yes.
So for it to constitute a sexual offense, the aspect of the kind of approach that the person is taking, either the lady or the guy, should be, its intent should be to either inducing this one, the other person, the target, who is the victim now, to a sexually related.
So it should be seducing,
it should be seductive, seductive in some nature. Although now going to the flip side of it, now if it escalates to issues to do with touch, now of maybe of the private parts or
basically just touching inappropriately.
And without consent. If it's an adult. For minors, the issue of consent
does not appear.
It doesn't appear. As long as someone is a minor, the consent doesn't matter. Sure.
We'll put it into classify some of this, because I tend to believe that there are quite a number of people who basically, when you talk about sexual offenses,
Yes.
Sexual abuse,
Yes.
the only thing they think about is rape and defilement. But I believe there's a classification probably that is categorized under law that maybe happens and people don't see it as sexual offense.
Yes, yes. So as I was saying, sexual offense, especially the law guide governing sexual offenses is under the Sexual Offences Act.
Yes.
And it came as a result of the outcry from the public, especially the women.
Yes.
Actually, one of the pioneers of the act, the sexual, is well known to all of us, the Supreme Court Judge, Honorable Lady Justice
Njoki Ndung'u.
Njoki Ndung'u, yes.
Yes.
So she was one of the pioneers while she was a nominated MP, and who pushed for an act of parliament that will regulate sexual offenses only. So the act came in itself with a lot of, it has a myriad of offenses. So to deal with rape, defilement, there is now sexual assault. Which
So
now
what is that?
Sexual assault now.
It's different from rape and
yes,
defilement.
it's very different. There is indecent act.
What is sexual assault?
Now sexual assault tends to deal with any inappropriate act that causes, maybe it might do with penetration or might not do with penetration. But it's an act that is sexual in nature, of intercourse. And in sexual assault, it's not necessarily, because for rape, most people tend to confuse it with rape, because for rape, it's penetration of the genitalia.
Yes.
But for sexual assault, you can use some other object or anything.
Okay.
Which there is a right also to that it's neither for medical, maybe examination, or for a general.
Yes. It's not medical
not
or anything.
medical, or there is consent to do it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's
yes. So that is sexual assault.
Yes.
So then there is also rape. Now rape is the act of penetration.
Yeah. At least rape. Almost every Tom, Dick, and Harry knows what is.
They know it.
Yes.
Yeah. So that one, of which it's the penetration of both genitalia. So the main element that is usually to prove is penetration in rape, and it is usually between adults.
Yes.
So wherever
and this is without consent.
Yes, without consent. Actually,
that is so key.
Consent is key in adult.
Yes.
Anything to do with an adult.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm looking for those that are not so obvious.
Yes. So
because there's some, I remember there was a case maybe a couple of years back where a gentleman, a matatu tout, went and found a lady, I think she was waiting for a matatu, and he kissed her. I don't know whether it was a peck or just a kiss.
Yes.
And he was arrested.
Yes.
And actually charged with sexual assault.
Yes. Yes. There is another. As I said, there are a myriad of offences.
Yes.
Now that will come in as an indecent assault. Indecent assault with a person. Yes. So
it still falls under the Sexual Offences Act.
Yes, and there is one specific category for that of indecent acts.
Yes.
With an indecent sexual act with an adult or a minor. So it falls under that category, where it's not to do with now the intercourse or penetration, but to do with physical touch. And there is also a practical case that was in court some times back, similar to what you've explained to us or narrated in a nutshell. So in that case, it was the same case on a matatu, whereby people, as you know, in Nairobi, the way they queue. Then they were queuing, then there was a lady who was standing just in front of the young man who was on the queue. So I don't know, the guy found it irresistible or whatever he thought into himself. So he proceeded and touched the back of the lady. And the lady went and made a complaint. The case was filed in court. And as I would say, all sexual offenses, the penalties are so punitive. And by punitive to our viewers, I mean they are so severe.
The sentences are very severe.
Very severe. So imagine, for that touch, that guy was sentenced to 10 years imprisonment.
10 years?
10 years imprisonment for a touch at the back of a lady. So as I will say, actually, if you look at the act, the entire act, the minimal you'll find is At least 3 years. That one for sexual harassment.
Yes.
Maybe at the workplace as we started, where we initiated our conversation.
Let's focus. Maybe let's come back to now the workplace, because I think that's where a lot of this happen.
Sure.
What are some of those things? And probably if your hand has, you have a condition where your hand goes without consent, you need to walk around chaining yourself. What are some of these things that happen within the office that can be classified as sexual offense?
So some of the things that we can start from the basic.
Yeah, just the basic one.
The basic ones are like even enticing a lady, trying to call her,
or a guy for that matter. Yes.
For that matter, like
yes.
We stated from the start.
Yes.
Whichever case applies, or a guy, where a lady or a guy, whichever case, they start now calling each other some weird names, and it's not consensual. As we know, in most institution, we must have a sexual harassment policy.
Yes, yes.
So that should safeguard to mean if you are at work, you should refrain from anything that is intimate or might likely be sexual in any nature.
Mm-hmm.
So some of those things like calling each other those names that we all know. Mm-hmm. Then there is indecent touches, the way you are saying, will we walk chaining ourselves? So there are those ones who go to overboard to that extent of now touching. Mm-hmm. So it usually happens.
And does it matter the positions? Take for instance, the seniority in positions, or can it happen also?
Yes, laterally. Yes, it can happen. In most cases, what I know, even from the definition in the Act, the Act it's that provision that stipulates sexual harassment. It states mostly it's from people at a higher rank in the office, where they have subordinates. Mostly it happens where it's like the one who is the manager or top rank compared to the others.
Yes.
They are the ones who usually tend to harass the ones at the lower
juniors,
levels.
yes.
Although there are juniors actually who also tend to hit on their colleagues, and also interns to come to practicality. We also have interns who you've come for apprenticeship or to learn more about the career advancement or such. Then you find like another practical example that I managed to encounter, where now the boss now starts telling you now, we'll be having our seminar somewhere in Western or in Mombasa, and I've already booked a lodge somewhere or an Airbnb where we'll go spend ourselves. So now seeing that, there is something that, and following to that, you'll find out that there is an issue that he or she has been behaving in a certain way that is suggestive in sexual in nature. So now thinking now in the long term that we are having a seminar somewhere where we'll be going, and actually in that case, that practical case that I'm telling you about, the employer was insisting that they will go and spend in the same room over with now the intern. Actually it was an intern to make it worse. So it usually happens. These are things
that's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy, but it happens. So
I know it happens because I was speaking to a lady a couple of years back. I don't know whether it still happens with members of parliament in this august house. But I remember speaking to a lady in one of the major organizations that basically organize seminars for members of parliament, and she was telling me that in Mombasa, when members of parliament, that parliament, I don't know about this current lot, but they were saying when members of parliament go to Mombasa, the hotels basically tell their lady, waiters who, serve the rooms, make sure you don't walk alone along the corridors, because the members of parliament have been known to behave in certain ways that are, and this is not just the men. It's even the ladies. Both. So I understand where you're coming from, because that I was told by some lady in a responsible position.
Yes. So it happens in all government institutions. You know, the society is comprised of all sorts of people. The way you used to play or you used to play as kids,
Yes.
you will see this is a naughty girl,
Yes.
this is a naughty boy.
Yeah.
That reflects even at our
In the
workplace,
society, yes.
even at the society, at our workplaces. Yeah, so it cuts across. It's a cross-board thing that happens whichever sector in the economy.
Yeah.
Yes.
So how I know that the law has prescribed quite a number of measures.
Yes.
And as you're saying, punishments for this.
Yes.
But are they working?
The way I will say, yes, they are working because mostly the Sexual Offences Act,
Yes.
it prescribed for minimum sentence.
Yes.
So the judge doesn't have the discretion that he or she can go below whatever is prescribed under the Act. And
So the minimum you said is 3.
and that is under sexual harassment. Where
under
at
sexual
the
harassment.
workplace,
Yes.
the conversation that we had,
It's-
we are having now at the office now.
Yeah.
If you go to report a sexual harassment at workplace,
Yes.
the Sexual Offences Act is clear. It says not a minimum of 3 years sentence.
So it's 3
or-
years and above.
Yes, or a fine of at least 100,000.
Yes.
Or both.
Yes.
Yes.
And what is the maximum?
Now,
Does
the
it
maximum
prescribe
is
a-
discretional now.
Now
It
the
just
judge
gives the
can decide
minimum. Yes, they can give.
They can
even
decide to give you
5,
25.
Even, but that will be a bit unreasonable. You will apply for revision.
Yes.
You will apply for revision or appeal. You
Yes.
will appeal in such a case against the sentencing. Because if you are convicted of sexual harassment, the only recourse you can have is either revision or appeal.
Yes.
So for revision is where there is an error that happened, nothing so substantial.
Yes.
But if it's an appeal now, you can say this sentencing that was meted upon me is too severe and too harsh
Yes.
for the High Court to consider. Yeah. So, but most of them, like
What about for rape?
for rape now, it's a minimum of 10 years with no option of a fine. It's just minimum.
It's 10 years, without an option of fine.
Yes, so the judge has the discretion to escalate it even to 20 years. Then, in escalating it, there is what we call in the trial process of the court. There are factors, there are circumstances that they must consider. Because if it's rape and they find maybe it was within the relatives or incest.
Yes.
Incest is another offense also in the
Yes.
sexual offenses.
Yes.
So they come and find out you knew you are at a consanguinity or that is affinity relationship by blood, you knew. So that might even make the judge or the magistrate to escalate it by saying, or you are a second offender, you are fond of being caught up with in such cases.
Let's
So
reverse a little bit. Incest.
yes, incest.
Because from the research,
Yes.
there's an increase
Also,
in the
yes.
cases of incest.
Yes.
So what is the minimum penalty for incest?
For incest, I believe it's 15 years. The minimum, I believe it's 15. Yes, because now that is, you see, it's higher than rape.
Yeah, yani
And,
ili you remember vyoja mahakamani ili iwe funzo
ndio.
kwako na kwa wengine ambao wangependa kufanya vitu kama hizi. 15 years
15
is the minimum.
Yes.
And
For
then
which,
yes.
for which, because basically that is you are at a trust relationship with
Yeah.
this person.
Yes.
Then for also considering our background as Africans.
Yes.
The culture now it was.
And it's immoral.
It's immoral.
It's against the
The
principles
morality
of God.
is completely abominable.
Yes.
Yes. So incest. Then the most severe ones are now in defilement.
When now you're talking about minors.
Yes, minors, where as we said, as we were starting the conversation,
Yes.
that for minors you can't say, although there is a defense, I'll let you know about it.
Yes.
Where someone is caught up, they having, let's get into that after I finish on the defilement bit.
Yes.
So on defilement, if someone is found culpable and they've been convicted now after the hearing.
You've been found guilty.
You've been found guilty, although there are basic elements that are usually considered in criminal cases. There are three things, three basic things.
Yes.
They usually consider the recognition, whether you know the perpetrator of the act, recognition or identification. were you able to identify this is the person?
Yes.
Because you can, to avoid wrongful convictions.
Yes.
So the first thing is now identification. Identification is usually where you don't know the person.
Yeah.
But with the being seen, there is something called identification parade, where they are lined up.
If you
choose,
yes.
yes, the right person, it's
Yes.
this
Yes.
person, and you are consistent with this person.
Yes.
So that is, and recognition coming where it's a person you've also always known. So you know even the name.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's one element that we consider in all sexual offenses cases. So recognition or identification. So the second aspect that we usually that the court looks in determining such cases is age. Now this is a factor because a child,
age of the victim.
Yes. And also for the perpetrator, it matters because for a child, the court might be a bit lenient if they are both children.
If they are both minors.
If they are both minors.
Yes.
Yeah, there is jurisprudence that has grown being made. As for the Sexual Offences Act, it's punitive even to the minors.
Yes.
But there is something judicial precedence.
Yes.
Some judges have come out clear, like as he was then Chitembo, Rashid Chitembo, Honorable Justice. So he's one of them, of the pioneers of now making it seem like children, as long as they are within the same age, like 16 and 17, then for them, it will be preferred. Their sentence is governed under the Bostol. There is an act for Bostol Institution Act and the Children Act.
Yes.
Because if we say it's defilement generally, for an adult, if a child defiled for 11 years and below, it's life imprisonment.
What?
Life in prison. So for children,
for defilement, 11 years and below, it's life imprisonment.
Life imprisonment.
Okay.
11 years.
That's it's like murder. There's no option.
Yes, no option.
Okay.
The law is clear cut. It's life imprisonment, the way it's stated.
Yes.
Because I understand it's a child of 11 years,
surely.
Tender age.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we go to the final limb before we consider the sentence for defilement.
Yes.
So that is, we had the issue of recognition or identification, the age, then now the act, penetration.
Yes.
Was it there? Yes. So those are the basic elements that are usually considered. So now jumping into defilement.
Yes.
Now for 11 and below, we said it's
just life in prison.
Yes.
Once it's
proved.
you're ruled guilty.
Yes, you are convicted, life. You are guilty. Yes, the sentence is just life. Then there is now the age bracket for between 12 and 15 years.
Yes.
That is 20 years.
Between 12 and 15?
Yes, that is a minimum of 15 years in jail. So it can
those are
be
good sentences.
Yes, it can be enhanced.
Yes,
they are punitive. Actually, there are various reasons as to why sentences are crafted the way they are.
Yes.
So one of the reasons is for deterrence.
Yes.
Deterrence is to make people refrain or even think about it.
Yes.
So the crafters of the sexual offenses, they were after that now to make people, the perpetrator, him or herself, or the other people in the society, now to be afraid of, if I commit this, even as you comprehend that you are even afraid. So that aspect now for 15, 12, it's minimum of 15, so it can be enhanced based on circumstances. Now, and we have now the other bracket for 16, 17. For that one, it's a minimum of 15 years. Yes, which also can be enhanced. It's
just know once you're declared guilty, you're getting 15 and above.
Yes, 15 and above for 16, 17 years. Now let me take you to the defense that it's a very interesting defense that anyone could have. So someone is caught up in a case where they have a minor. The person is found out to be a minor, the victim now, the victim or the complainant. So in such a case, and maybe the defendant now is the one who is the perpetrator in court of law now. You are usually called as... so that one, he might come, which is a defense in law, and say, this lady or this guy, the way they conducted themselves and the way they look, even some, as there are people who are big, you can even tell this one, they tell you their age, then you think, so she is a minor, or he is a minor, I didn't know she, or he appears like an adult. So someone will come up with a defense like,
But obviously that cannot work with a 12-year-old.
yes,
that has to be for,
at least mostly it appears for around 15 and above in most cases.
And at least the body
shows, and at least the circumstances also tell a lot. They reveal a lot in determining the matter.
Yeah.
Maybe you found it was at a club, the lady was even had a lot of liquor on the table.
Yes.
She was all over the place and so the circumstances, the way she was or he was conducting himself, should tell that this person was conducting themselves like an adult. Yeah. But there is another, we should go further now. Yes. You must show the court that you went further to inquire.
You must have asked, hey, by the way, how old are you?
Yes, how old are you? Yeah. Can you, even if you won't ask for an ID, at least you ask for some basic questions that tend to deal with age. You ask like, do you have this, maybe when did you finish high school, or such kind of things, that, or what do you do for a life, or to earn your living? Now that one will tell if it's someone you will believe this one, he or she is working. That the court is likely to be lenient and believe, oh, this person, at least you did some due diligence and went further to inquire whether this is a minor or not.
Now let's come to a very controversial, part of this particular.
Yes.
Sexual offenses within the marriage.
Yes.
Does it exist?
Yes, it exists.
How?
It exists, although under the Sexual Offences Act, actually it's one of the things that require some amendment or a relook into it to fix that. Yes. There is what we call marital rape.
Yes.
Marital rape. There is a thin line between that and what we face in court, or what most of us here outside that conjugal rights.
Yes.
Ananikataza. Actually, in most divorce cases,
it's conjugal rights.
It's conjugal. Ananikataza rights zangu. Even in the normal society.
So how does the law define marital rape?
So
I mean,
yes, for any intercourse, for any act to be lawful, because for rape
there has to be consent.
There has to be consent, because actually under Section 40, Article 45 of the Constitution, we believe it defines a family. It's a union of a man and a woman. It is heterosexual. So for them now there is no minor there. It's usually adults. So, and for intercourse to be now there is no rape. It's the element of consent. So even in the household, there should be consent. You can't just maybe coerce or forcefully or fraudulently induce maybe the husband or the wife to do, and maybe that day they are not willing, or at that particular time they don't want to do it. It's something that's not captured under our laws, but it's something that happens, and we should look further into that, but it happens. It's something that's there.
Hizi vitu za zungu mingi sana.
Yes.
But we should stick.
Yes.
Anyway, the law is very clear, and there have been cases where, and in Nairobi and different parts of the country, where women have been harassed by men, matatu touts, at bus stops, and different places. And the people were just watching and probably enjoying what was happening.
Yes, sure.
Number one, it's immoral.
Yes.
It's against God's law, and it's sickening.
Yes.
But is there something the law basically provides that can get this person who's watching this and not taking action? Can the law take action against you?
I believe for such it will be hard to prove it in court that these people were part of whatever was happening.
Yes.
Because they are just bystanders, they were just looking. So finding them culpable of the offense, it will be a bit hard for the court to...
What if you were in a position to take action to stop what was happening and you just never did?
Now, if you are, maybe you must show that there was some kind of relationship between you and the perpetrator of the offense.
Yes.
So in such a case, you are usually likely to be enjoined as an aider or abettor of the commission of the crime.
Yes.
So a good example is maybe something to do with maybe let's escalate it and we assume it's a rape now.
Yes.
If it's now, it becomes gang rape.
Yes.
Gang rape occurs usually where there is more than one person.
Yes.
So now it's more than one person. Now the other person could just be a bystander, maybe looking for someone not to come and interrupt or such.
Yes.
So
that one is also part
in the
of
society they say angalia rada.
Yes.
Rada iko aje ama something like that.
Yes.
So that person, and for gang rape it's also a minimum of 15 years, I guess.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's
so
good.
as long as you are part of it, you are not in the action, but you are bystander, but you had a common intent with the perpetrator of the offense.
Yes.
So you are usually sentenced to the same sentence, that you are usually likely to suffer the same sentence as the perpetrator of the offense.
What about those who, capture whatever is happening on their phones?
For those ones, it's hard. In our legal system, the way I know it,
Yes.
it's usually hard for you to be found culpable of the same. Although we have the jurisprudence is different in our case and our courts. So there could be the judicial officer could in their own discretion say this person, although there is no provision for that under that act that governs sexual offenses, but they could on their own volition
say that
you are part of this, and why didn't you take action? Because for law we either say an act or an inaction which is unlawful, or which is
an act or inaction.
Yes. So in law you can either be at a position where you are doing something that is wrongful, that is now committing the act.
Yes.
But in action, you are seeing something that is unlawful that is being committed,
and you're doing nothing.
You are doing nothing,
and you're in a position to do something.
You are in a position to do something to salvage the situation.
Yes.
So in such a position, I believe it will be discretionary, or the way the judicial officer is likely to apply their mind. It will, maybe they will. Maybe
you might find yourself in
hot soup.
Yes. Let me just go through some of the comments that may have come through. Let me see. Yeah, we have okay, Mama. This is Mama who's tuned in from Umoja. Some of the others have disappeared. Let me see whether I can retrieve them. Yes, there's, one says tuned in from Umoja. Then Kate, you say, imefika place everyone needs to protect ladies, na pia sisi tuangalie wale wase tuna date. I guess she's talking about date rape.
Yes.
And then Ndeti is watching from UK, Ukambani. Then Mika, you say education for the boy child, to be specific, should be encouraged on such matters. Then Lennox, you say nowadays it's not only sexual abuse, hadi wanauliwa, but even ladies waache tabia za kishetani. So basically I guess he's talking about some of the things that are happening. Education of the boy child, maybe?
Yes. There must be sensitization and awareness that the boy child should not shy away from maybe making reports whenever they are faced in such circumstances that are against the morality or their sexual offenses in their nature. Then there is another thing that is that has hit the social media in the recent past.
The femicide.
Femicide, although now that is criminal for murder cases. But now for women it's femicide. There is this one sometime like last week, but one thereabout. There was this issue of people circulating, they have HIV, they are spreading it. Now it's a conversation, it's captured also under the Act. The Act says deliberate spread of HIV infection. Now that one where you are deliberately, the way they are revealing
you know
themselves,
you are infected, and you
are
yes.
HIV or any other life-threatening terminal illness,
yes.
which may be sexual in nature
Yes.
because of this conversation.
Yes.
So any HIV, you know you're infected, and the way I saw the tweets and the comments, people saying I was infected and alipiza sasa I want to spread.
Yes.
Now for that it's also an offense in law, a sexual offense.
It's actually a sexual offense.
Yes, under the Act.
And what are the sentences?
The sentence for that, it will shock you, it's 15 years imprisonment.
Minimum.
Which could be enhanced to life imprisonment.
Oh, because actually, what's the difference between that and murder? I mean, your intention is to kill me.
Yes, because it's a life-threatening disease actually.
Yes,
it's something that someone will live for the eternity until when they'll kick the bucket.
Yeah.
So it's the sentencing is punitive enough, 15 years. I was looking at the comments.
That's
and
huge.
It's
that's
something
huge.
that at least the public should be aware of.
Yes.
And refrain from such conduct. If you know, because samples will usually be collected.
Yes.
And they be taken now, and the victim, maybe they must show up. Then they go to a court of law, and you'll find yourself now serving imprisonment.
And you know it's happening. I once heard of a story and you know, there's a lot of promiscuity that happens within the campuses and the colleges.
Sure.
This lady once stood up. They were, you know, I think it was a parade, and she announced that she was HIV positive, and immediately people just started falling. Because you know, you see. Mika, then she just started fainting because now you realize what has happened. So let's take care. Your last comment as we bring this to an end.
My last comment as we bring the conversation to an end is, if you are caught up in a situation where you are facing any sort of sexual abuse, be it by verbal or oral, sexual, in the sense of intercourse or physical touch that is inappropriate, and no consent, you are not consenting to it, you should report the complaint, let the perpetrator be brought to book. Also, the other thing that I will say is, at least if you see a colleague, a friend or someone suffering from the same, we should also report, and we make mass awareness and sensitization on this tone to free ourselves from this menace. The other thing I will say, maybe now to yourselves and other broadcasting corporations or entities, is we should do some mass sensitization, but it's good. I've seen from your entrance, I saw some rapes awareness poster somewhere, and it encouraged me and made me feel like I'm coming in the right place where the law is upheld. So let's not shy away from doing what is needful, and we avoid the other side of it where we are the perpetrators or find ourselves on the other side of the law. Thank
you very much. That was some interesting conversation, Mike.
Thank you very much.
All right.
And thank you for hosting me.
All right. We got to remember this, that what we do is protecting our loved ones. If you see sexual offenses happening and you do nothing, you never know. That person that has gotten away with that act may soon be practicing the same thing on your daughter, your wife, or even your mother. So we have to protect one another in this society. Let us not allow this kind of thing to exist. And the people who do this should know that they will not get away with it. And when we do that, then we'll be doing what we are supposed to do. We will protect one another so that we protect our sisters mostly. Our sisters, because this offense is mostly targeted upon them. So let's do what you need to do. It happens in the office, report it. Go to the HR, tell them exactly what is happening. For us here, we've put posters in our office in different places, just outlaying that if you do this, this is what is going to happen. And let me tell you, we are in Buruburu, so there's Buruburu Police Station and Jogoo Road Police Station. So if it happens, Kamatwa, you are taken in, and then you'll answer those things from within. Do the same thing in your office. Protect the ladies there and protect the men too, because this thing is happening and it's serious. 80% of ladies have been abused in this country. That's shocking and disturbing. So let's do our bit to protect one another. Do have yourself a lovely evening. God bless you.
Thank you very much.